How's it going, my dudes? I hope you guys are having a fantastic week.
Today, I am going to be talking about the pros and cons of studying architecture.
Some truths you guys need to know when deciding to become an architect.
I will talk about how architects charge for their fees and what will you get in return as the client.
So first, how do I become an architect? It's pretty straightforward in most countries. First, you have to go through 5 years of architecture school or college. Then after you graduated, you have to go through 2 years of apprenticeship where you work under an architect or mentor. Make sure you apply in a company or firm that has an architecture design department, or better yet, you should apply in an architectural firm. So after the 2 years of apprenticeship stage, you now will go on to take your licensure examinations to become a legit architect. So in other countries, this is a difficult process and takes years. Luckily for me, here in the Philippines, it is quite straightforward. So you take the exams that include all the things you studied in school and the things you learned during your apprenticeship. And if you pass the exams, boom! Congratulations, you are now a registered and licensed architect. But just like all great things, it is really not as simple as it made it sound like. You're going to need specific skills to become an architect. So to become an architect, you need to be good at drawing, problem solving, and using the computer. You have to be decent at math and logic too. But most importantly, you need to be creative. Now, I understand most of you guys don't have these skills, but luckily these skills could be developed, and with hard work, anyone can be amazing at drawing and problem solving and even math. Aside, most of you guys ask if it is an easy course. Well, the truth is, architecture school and the practice of architecture in general is pretty hard. You often stay up late working on designs, you will spend a lot of time doubting yourselves, and you will always have to step out of your comfort zone. But you know, that is where growth is. You grow and improve whenever you step outside your comfort zone. And with growth comes future success. It may feel like it's not leading to anything right now, or you're just wasting your time drawing in the wee hours of the night while your friends are partying or sleeping. You might not notice it, but slowly but surely, you're improving, and it is these little improvements that will someday accumulate and make you successful. So how much does architecture school cost, and how much do architects make? Now, this is a very complicated question since architecture schools and architecture practices vary in each country. But I will try to answer it in ballpark values the best I can. So yes, architecture school is expensive, especially your first year, because you need to buy a ton of drafting tools like a drafting table, and even a laptop to use for architectural softwares, and you know, watching anime for whenever you get stressed from architecture school. So yeah, prepare your wallets for the first years of architecture school. But you know, enough of those expenses. Let us move on to how much does an architect make. I'm gonna be honest, some architects make good money. I mean, a lot of money, and some make you know. So for architects who are working in an architecture firm overseas in rich or developing countries, those guys make $25 to $75 per hour depending on their position in the company. So if you're a draftsman, you will make $25 per hour, but if you're an integral part of the design team, well, cha-ching. Oh man, my voice is still not back. Okay, now let's say you're self-employed. Now what this means is you design buildings for clients and you are basically like a freelancer. So in average, you could get 7 to 10% of the total estimated project value. So to make it simpler, for example, a client asks you to design a house worth $10 million. You are entitled to 10% of that $10 million. That is like a $1 million design fee. Now this may sound super exciting, but there's a ton of responsibility that comes with being a self-employed architect, like designing and making the working drawings, making sure it passed all of the laws, and making sure your design is being implemented. That means visiting the site daily. You also have to coordinate with the contractor and the owner, and in some cases, you would have to manage the site. So that is why the fee of these freelance architects are so big. Also, getting a client to agree to this fee is super hard, but I will leave that for another video.
So, first pro is that architecture is a good course. Alam niyo yung kapag may mga family gatherings, tapos tatanungin ka ng tita mo, "Oh my God, anong course mo?" Tapos sasabihin ko, "Architecture po." Tapos laging sagot nila, "Wow, galing mo naman!" Tapos parang ako, Pero deep inside, kung alam niyo lang kung gano'n ako nahihirapan sa course ko. Basically, architecture is spoken highly of, as in, ganun lagi kapag nalaman nilang arty ka, parang, wow! I think the biggest thing kasi about architecture is that it's a mixture of art and science, and you have to be good at both those fields, which are parang magkalaban, pero kailangan mo sila i-put together. Ganon. And you also have to know about math, physics, communication skills, ganon, business, lahat na, nasa arcane. First con, it's expensive. I would be lying if I said that anyone can afford to study architecture, because the truth is, it's so freaking expensive. Sure, sa UP, nagkaroon kaming free tuition, pero there's so many materials that you need to buy for yourself, for drafting, ganon, like mga markers, pens, rulers, drafting table. Hindi naman pwedeng humiram ka lang sa katabi mo kasi paano kayo matatapos kung maghihiraman kayo. Ganon. Mahal din is printing, of course. There's A4 size, may A3, tapos minsan isang malaking board that like the size of a cartolina. Of course, you need to have your own laptop kasi architecture uses a lot of software programs that may not be available at every single computer shop. So, ayun, that's one downside of it. Second pro, you can be good in a lot of things. You can learn a lot of skills when you take up architecture. I think the biggest skill is, of course, creativity, because you need to be able to create designs that would function well, that looks nice, aesthetically pleasing, whatever. But you also get to learn about the basics of engineering. Like, you really need to know mechanical, electrical, sanitary, structural, on and on and on. Another skill that you get to learn is public speaking, or speaking on the spot, because we do a lot of presentations and you need to be able to sell your idea. Because even if you have such a great design but you don't know how to speak up for yourself, the audience won't buy it. They won't even listen to you. Galing din sa Photoshop, sa video editing. Another big thing is planning. Planning takes up so much time in Archi that you can even use that skill in your everyday life, like planning ahead, your schedule, ganito, logistics, whatever. Second con, you will have a heavy workload. In some Archi majors, minsan meron ka ng final plate, tas meron pang final exam. Twice the workload na agad. So imagine you're mentally preparing and studying for an exam, but at the same time, you should have also been working on your final plate, na minsan by group pa, so you have to coordinate your schedules, ganon. There are also plates that require manual labor, model making, or drafting. Drafting can take up so much time. Minsan kahit kompleto na yung floor plan sa isip mo, but the time it takes to draft it neatly and precisely on a freaking 20 by 30 paper can take up to a day, sometimes more than. It can get really time consuming. And I even saw an article before that says, wait, it's the major that works the most hours. It averages to 22.2 hours. So, diba? Ang daming oras nun. Third pro, it's a broad course. Hindi ko lang kung tama yung English ko doon. Pero basically, architecture can open doors to a lot more opportunities. Just because you took up architecture in college doesn't necessarily mean na architect lang yung pwede mong trabaho buong buhay mo. You could also go for other jobs because you took up architecture. But most of these courses, of course, will be related to the arts. For example, some people have gone on to become graphic designers, full-time artists, fashion designer. Francis Libiran is an architecture graduate actually from UST. Could also be an event planner, urban planner, video game designer, which is so cool. Diba? Naglilista na ako ng mga trabaho na pwede sa inyo. Third con, architecture can be very subjective. So all throughout my college life, I've encountered different professors because of different subjects, and they all have different opinions. One prof may love my idea, but another prof would not think that it's good at all. So, medyo you're always left with, ano ba? Tama ba? Maganda ba? Okay na ba? But the thing is, there is no right or wrong answer to it, because architecture is an art, and art is subjective. Ewan ko, minsan kasi feel ko parang as long as you pass the minimum requirements, complete and on time, you definitely won't fail the subject. But you're still left thinking, so was my design good enough? Or pumasa lang ba ako dahil nagpasa ako on time? So it kind of messes with your head sometimes. Fourth pro, you can have your own practice and have side hustles that will help you make more money. We can have a lot of jobs at once, and sometimes that's even better, so that your income does not solely rely on one thing that could be taken away from you. For example, I know some architects who have their own firm, ganon, but they're also a real estate agent, ganon, or a contractor. You could be a contractor if you're an architect. You could also be a professor, of course, or like a specialist like in acoustics or lighting, ganyan. So you can have a lot of side hustles. Fourth con, don't expect a high salary, especially if you're just beginning. Personally, I have not entered the workforce yet. Soon, maybe, hopefully. So I already have an idea of what salary I'll be getting when I start to work as an intern or apprentice, kasi kailangan yun before board exams. And the pay is really just minimum wage. Some people might even go and say that there is no money in architecture. That's why you need to have a lot of side hustles. Then let's go with the last con so that we could end with a pro on a positive note. Last con is buy sleep. Yun nga, the course is very time consuming, and on average for me, I only slept like 4 to 6 hours a day. If I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, that would be amazing. As in, sobrang miracle, himala. So yeah, that's another downside to it. You won't get as much sleep as you want. And I've even know some people who said that they actually considered shifting to a different course just so that they could get more sleep. And finally, the last pro is that you can make a difference. I've heard someone once said that architecture is the only art form that you cannot escape because it is literally always around us. Right at this very moment, if you look around, ayan, there's architecture all around you. So it can be a very powerful thing, and sometimes we don't even realize it. Architecture can control how we move in a space, how we behave and feel, basically how we live our day-to-day life. So if you choose to become an architect, you need to realize how great of an impact your designs could have to other people. Their lives could be better because of you. Wow! I mean, as an architecture student, you know, the feeling of stress never fully went away. But I would still have those moments where I would feel kilig or excited when I know that my design idea could potentially benefit people if it became real, if it was actually built. It could affect the community in a positive way. It could be a catalyst for the surrounding area, ganito, ganyan. Because of those moments, I feel like kahit papano may kapupuntahan din yung lahat ng stress ko. And, you know, it would all have been worth it. But guys, that is it for this video. Again, disclaimer, lahat ng sinabi ko, it was just my personal point of view. And if you're watching this and you're in high school, you're probably thinking of pursuing architecture in college. And I actually get some questions or comments saying that they want to take up architecture but they don't know if kakayanin ba nila yung drawing, yung math, ganito, ganyan. Basta maraming takot surrounding the course. But you shouldn't be asking yourself if kakayanin ko ba. But I think the right question that you should be asking is, worth it ba? Kapag ba pumikit kayo, tapos nakita nyo yung sarili nyo in the future as an architect or designer, does that thought make you feel inspired? Kinikilig ba kayo? Excited ba kayo? Masaya ba kayo? Could you imagine yourself in that position? And do you think that the best way for you to help this world is through creating well-designed spaces? Because if the answer is yes, then I'd say go for it. Kasi kahit anong course naman piliin nyo, hindi mawawala yung takot. So don't let the fear of failure get into your head and stop you from achieving all those great things. Because sabi nga nila, at the end of the day, doubt has killed more dreams than failure ever will.
Gusto mo ba magpagawa ng bahay or di kaya ng shop or tindahan para sa business mo? Ang unang step sa proseso na yan ay ang kumuha ka ng arkitekto. Because the architect is always the first step in the design and build process. Pero how much will it cost you to hire an architect? Hi, I'm Karlo, and I am a registered architect. And I have been in this practice for more than 10 years now. At sa trabahong ito, marami na ang nagtanong sa akin kung magkano ba ang professional fee ko. What I will be discussing here will be based on the guidelines provided by the United Architects of the Philippines, which is the duly accredited professional organization of architects here in the Philippines. They issued an official gazette way back when, at nakasaad dito ang mga detalye kung paano nga ba dapat maningil si architect. It includes the guidelines of the practice of architects in accordance with the implementing rules of the Public Act 9266 or the Architecture Act of 2004. So magkano nga kaya ang professional fee ni architect? Just to let you know, every time you ask an architect for a price, it doesn't necessarily entail a fixed fee. Why? Because every client or project for that matter has a different scenario or situation. No project is ever the same. Mapa-lot size yan, site conditions, space requirements, madaming factors ang kinoconsider for the architect's fee. Every project varies at some point, and those variations lead to price differentiations. In short, hindi kami nagbebenta lang ng laruan sa tindahan, na kung saan fixed ang price nito kapag gusto mo na itong bilhin. Ang pagpepresyo ni architect ay nakadepende sa quantity or sa dami ng gagawin or sa complexity or sa level of difficulty ng isang project. Remember that an architect offers a service and not a product. Although his finished project may be considered as the final product. And to be honest, yun lang kasi ang madalas makita ng tao sa amin. Yung final product, like actual photos of the project and the proposed perspectives we showcase on our portfolio and social media. But that's not all there is to it. It is the process that you are really paying for whenever you get the services of an architect. Palaging tatandaan na ang architect ay isang klase ng consultant. Parang doktor na pag may sakit ka, sa doktor ka magpapakonsult. Or lawyer, whenever you need to settle some legal matters, sa kanila ka magpapakonsult. Sa arkitekto ka magpapakonsult kapag gusto mo magpagawa ng bahay, building, restaurant, at marami pang ibang structures na kabilang sa built environment. Ayon sa Official Gazette, there are mainly 3 ways that an architect can charge. Oh, by the way, you may need to watch this until the end because I will be explaining further how these costings go. First is by percentage cost, wherein the architect will charge at a recommended cost of 10% of the construction cost. You may check out my other video on magkano magpagawa ng bahay for you to get an idea where the architect based his cost. Second is by lump sum or fixed rate, wherein the architect will charge you according to his fixed scope of works and deliverables. Third is the time basis method. This method is more consultation based, where you pay the architect according to his assigned man hours. It is a prorated cost wherein you need to pay the architect according to his man hours served, or per diem, or per visit. This method is not really applicable on a regular design service. The method we often use to measure our design fee is the first method, the percentage cost. This method is the most common worldwide. It is based on the total construction cost, not the project cost, the construction cost, wherein the architect's fee is 10% of this cost. So meaning, kung ang project mo ay nagkakahalaga ng 1 million pesos para itayo, ang maaaring singilin sa iyo ay 10% nito or 100,000 pesos.
Architect, ang mahal naman pala.
Let me explain further. I told you, you need to watch this until the end. Ano-ano ang mga kasama sa 10% cost na yon? Well, aside from the architect's design fee, it already includes the allied design services like structural engineering design, electrical engineering design, plumbing, and sanitation design. So parang overall fee na siya for the design services you will need for your project. And this also includes their liabilities under the civil code. An architect's liability to every project he attaches his name and affixes his signature to will hold them liable for the next 15 years. At yun ang mabigat. It's as if nakatali si architect sa project na yon for 15 years. At kasama yon sa mga binabayaran mo sa arkitekto at sa mga engineer na nag-design at pumirma sa project mo.
Pero architect,
This is actually the recommended cost on how an architect may charge his client. Take note, recommended cost, meaning it is not definite. Kaya naman this price is somewhat negotiable. But in what way is it negotiable? Remember that in the beginning, I mentioned that every project varies at some point, and those variations lead to price differentiations. In short, not all projects are the same. Yung mga matagal ng architect katulad ko, we apply this what you call sign of goodwill. For new architects, this is often overlooked. Akala kasi nila though sinabing 10% ay 10% nga talaga ang dapat singilin sa kliyente. A good architect is client-centered. Well, syempre, our architectural standards and ethics will always be the backbone of our practice. But do note that our profession deals with human-to-human interactions. The sign of goodwill to our client pertains to our value as an architect. This value considers our skill, expertise, capabilities, and the time and effort required in delivering our services to the client. We call it the criteria of the architect's compensation. It is mentioned on the Official Gazette, Rule 2, Section 3. The criteria of computing the architect's compensation should be based on mutual evaluation of the amount of the architect's or his firm's talents, skill, experience, effort and time available for and required by the project. So meaning kung ang pinapagawa ni client is a simple four-corner house with a shed-type roof on top worth 1 million pesos, it is not justifiable for the architect to charge 100,000 pesos or 10% of the construction cost as his professional fee. Kasi kung pagbabasihan ng criteria of evaluation, it doesn't really take that much skill and effort for the architect to design such a simple structure. And look at it this way, 1 million pesos ang budget ni client. Maniningil ka ba ng 100,000 pesos para sa simpleng bahay? So it doesn't necessarily imply that we follow that 10% cost as our base fee. The mutual evaluation on the Official Gazette means that the client should be able to assess or evaluate the architect's capabilities and expertise as well. As for the client, clients should fairly evaluate their architect. Evaluate them based on skill, capability, and experience. Huwag lang basta manghingi ng discount kay architect. Tapos masasacrifice naman ang quality ng trabaho or ng services para sa project mo. The architect should be able to defend why he is charging this much for this project. To cut the long story short, an architect charges according to number 1, the time and effort he will need to complete your project. Kung maliit lang ang project at madali lang itong gawin, definitely mas mura ito kaysa sa mas malalaking project na matagal gawin. Number 2, the complexity or difficulty of the project. Minsan kapag ang project ni client ay nakatayo sa bangin or nasa sloped area, mas mahirap itong i-design, so he needs more compensation for that. Number 3, the skills and talents he will acquire to design and complete your project. Kung ikaw ay magpapagawa ng airport or ng hospital na considered as specialized design projects, kailangan ni architect ng tulong from other consultants from the aviation authority or the medical field respectively. This is to be able to complete the design. So that's it. This more or less gives you an idea on how much the architect's fee is. Hindi mo talaga pwedeng tanungin si architect agad-agad para sa professional fee niya. Kasi marami pa siyang kailangan i-consider para makakuha ng enough compensation para sa project mo. Tulad ng sabi ko kanina, hindi naman parang laruan sa tindahan ang pagpresyo ni architect. Na anytime, anywhere, fixed price. Kung kayo naman ay may planong magpa-design kay architect, you may talk to him directly to discuss the scope of your project. It's part of his job to hear you out on what you want for your project. And if you don't know what you want yet, the architect will be the one to ask the questions for you, to be able to have an idea on what it is you want for your house, building, or business. Kaya nga kami consultants, trabaho talaga namin yan. Thank you so much for staying up to the end of this video. If you like this video and more, you may press that thumbs up button. And you may also subscribe to this channel na din. If you have any comments, you may write it down in the comment section below. And I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Again, I'm Karlo, and for more updates on this channel, you may click on that notification bell icon. And do watch out for more future videos on this channel kasi sa channel na ito, may future.
Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit subscribe, and also don't forget to click on the notification bell so that you're updated whenever I post a new video.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I will see you on my next video. Flying peace!